What you'll see on the screen now are different examples of brands available for CGM. Dexcom G6 and G7 and Freestyle Libre are the two that we see most frequently at camp. You can see on the pictures of our little campers what they look like on the arms and the body. All of the devices are waterproof, although with the hot, sweaty sun and lots of swimming, sometimes the tape that it holds them down can become a little bit broken down. And so as you start to notice your campers, pay attention to whether or not it looks like these are continuing to stick. If they're starting to peel up, let somebody know because these devices are intended to stay on for at least 7 days, sometimes longer. If we can do anything to prevent from losing a sensor, that's our goal. They're generally read off of a phone, a pump, or a small receiver. Let's look at those now. The receiver is on the far left, and you'll see the blood sugar reading with the arrow that I was talking about earlier. You'll also see a graph that can show you where blood sugar levels have been in the past few hours. This one doesn't look like a camper at camp. Generally, you'll see lots of peaks and valleys when you're looking at a CGM receiver. The two images in the middle are examples of what it would look like if a camper was using their cell phone as the CGM receiver. You can see right under the clock, you have a little widget with the blood sugar level and the number. And then again on the home screen, another little widget that shows you the graph and the blood sugar number and arrow. The final example is an insulin pump that has the blood sugar level listed just under the battery bar or insulin bar up there. Getting familiar with where each of these devices will report the blood sugar levels will help make it easier as you're checking readings throughout camp. These are the numbers that you would write down on the glucose log if you're checking before meals or during activities. All of these devices run off of Bluetooth or some type of connection that doesn't always work well when there's so many devices around. Most of the Bluetooth devices have to be within 20 feet of the camper with the CGM to be able to transmit readings. That's not always practical if a kid's going to be in the pool and we don't want their cell phone next to them in the water. If you see any of these messages on the screen, you can try a couple of things to troubleshoot. Having the camper jump out of the pool for a few minutes to reconnect can help that communication establish again. But anytime that you're having trouble, we have a pump team on staff that's able to help fix some of these issues that can arise. When in doubt, do a finger stick blood sugar to check blood sugar levels if the CGM is not reading. Work as a team to check blood sugars. There's a lot of chaos at different times during camp, and so it's important as a group to establish a good process that will help make this more seamless. Have a certain station that you go to every morning for blood sugar checks, or small routines that help campers get ready for this process. Identifying roles within your group that can be assigned to each backpack for blood sugar checks can also be helpful. A supply manager is there to help pull out lancets and alcohol swabs. A recorder is ready to drop down those results once they get called out. Navigators, probably the most underrated, are helping campers come up to get tested and sending them away to do an activity while everybody finishes up. And then, of course, having somebody who's really handy with the pumps and phones that can run through all of those to grab readings. Next up, we'll talk about one of the most used tools in your toolbox, and this is our backpack system. During training, as a group, you'll put together your backpacks so you'll get a really good understanding of everything that is inside, but let's do a quick little dive now. Backpacks have all the supplies necessary to check blood sugar, treat low blood sugar, and record readings. There are two types of backpacks. The standard supply backpack are either green or blue, and they contain your blood glucose checking supplies as well as hypoglycemia treatment. You will use these most of all. Red backpacks have emergency supplies. The extra items in a red backpack are the ketone test strips, which we'll talk about in the next module, and glucagon, which is there as an emergency medication for severe low blood sugar. The most important thing about backpacks is that they must always travel with campers. There should never be a time that campers are off by themselves or with a staff member without a backpack. If a camper can't see a backpack in their eye view, then they're too far away from a backpack. All staff are also responsible for monitoring supply levels to be sure you have enough supplies each time you will step away from anyone. This is also important before key times like bedtime to make sure you have enough supplies to get through the night for blood sugar checks. Sometimes it can be helpful to assign a single staff member to be responsible for that, but anytime you reach into a backpack, make note of how much of that supply is left. This should not be a toilet paper situation where someone uses the last and doesn't replace it. Blood glucose levels are recorded whenever they're checked, especially if they're outside of the 80 to 180 range. Make sure you're recording the camper, time, result, and any treatment provided. The logs in the backpacks will have spots for all of these, but a lot of people choose to keep a little notebook or notes on their phone. Ensure that the results are provided to the med staff at meal times, morning and evening. This wraps up the tools and resources portion of the module. Join me on the next one. See you there.